echoing across the massive hall. Just a few hours ago, he was sitting on a wooden bench outside the theater, clutching a small cloth bag that held everything he owned. Inside were an old photo of his mother, a cracked phone, and a folded paper with lyrics written by hand. Mateo was from Cebu City, from a place where houses leaned on each other for support and dreams survived on scraps. He had never imagined standing here in front of judges from another country, in a room filled with strangers who did not know his story. The audience murmured softly, some curious, some distracted, some already judging him by his faded shirt and nervous posture. He took a deep breath and looked up at the judges, hoping they would see him not as a poor boy, but as a voice waiting to be heard. His mind drifted back to Cebu, early mornings by the port helping fishermen entangle nets for a few coins, afternoons repairing old radios, hoping one would play an Elvis song clearly enough for him to sing along, nights standing near streetlights, singing to passing jeepneys and tourists who barely slowed down. Music was the only thing that made hunger quiet and pain softer. When his mother passed away years ago, music became his prayer. He learned Elvis not from records, but from broken speakers and memories. He did not try to copy the moves perfectly. He sang the songs the way his heart understood, raw, desperate, full of longing. That same heart now pounded in his chest as the host asked his name and story. Mateo spoke softly, his accent thick, his voice shaking, as he explained where he came from and why he was here. Some people smiled politely, others looked away. One judge nodded kindly, another raised an eyebrow, unsure. The music began gently, just a simple guitar filling the space. Mateo closed his eyes. For a moment he was no longer on a foreign stage. He was back on a Cebu street, singing to the night sky. Then he opened his mouth, and the first note poured out, strong, trembling, alive. It cut through the hall like a wave. Conversation stopped, heads turned, and eyes widened. The sound was unexpected, deep and emotional, carrying both power and pain. It was Elvis, but it was also something else, something Filipino, something born of struggle and hope. Mateo moved instinctively, letting the rhythm guide his body. Not perfectly, but honestly. Every word carried years of hunger, loss, and survival. The audience leaned forward, drawn in by the sincerity of his voice. As the song built, Mateo's confidence grew. He forgot about the cameras, the judges, the crowd. He sang for his mother, for the nights he went to sleep hungry, for the times he was laughed at for dreaming too big. The power in his voice rose and fell like the sea near his home. One judge's hand slowly lowered from the buzzer, resting over their heart instead. Another judge's eyes glistened, tears forming despite themselves. The third judge leaned back, shaking their head in disbelief, a smile breaking across their face. The crowd began to clap in rhythm, some standing, some wiping their eyes. Mateo felt it all without seeing it, the energy lifting him higher than fear ever could. Halfway through the performance, the song reached its peak. Mateo held a note longer than he ever had before, his voice cracking slightly but refusing to break. It was imperfect, and that imperfection made it real. A judge stood up suddenly, clapping hard, unable to stay seated. Another followed, standing with tears streaming freely. The audience erupted, cheers rising like thunder. Mateo felt his knees weaken, but he kept singing, pushing through, until the final note rang out strong and clear. Silence followed for a heartbeat, then the entire hall exploded into applause. People stood shouting, whistling, clapping, as if trying to give him everything he had ever been denied. Mateo stood still, stunned, breathing hard, tears rolling down his face. He bowed his head, unsure what to do next. The judges were on their feet now, clapping with emotion written openly across their faces. One judge wiped their eyes and walked toward the stage, stopping just short of stepping onto it. They spoke about how they had seen many performances, but rarely felt one in their bones the way Mateo's voice had done. Another judge spoke through tears, saying they could feel his life in every word, and that music like that could not be taught or bought. It was earned through hardship and heart. The third judge smiled warmly, telling Mateo he reminded them why dreams mattered no matter where you came from. When it came time for the decision, All three judges pressed yes together without hesitation. The crowd roared louder than before. Mateo covered his face with his hands, overwhelmed, sobbing openly. He dropped to his knees on the stage, unable to hold himself up any longer. A judge stepped forward, placing a G